The Miracle Man is finally a world champion. HBO boxing is no more. And how close is Mikey vs Spence? Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Help us hit 10,000 subscribers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another edition of Tuesday Night Fights. Danny Jacobs is finally a world champion. A real world champion. None of that silly regular world champion, WBA style champion. A real champion. He's the IBF middleweight champion. HBO has officially closed. HBO Boxing has officially closed its doors, leaving a mega fight, a unification bout between Danny Jacobs and Canelo Alvarez on the table. I think that fight will be next, but we'll get to that. For Jacobs, not for Canelo, of course, since he has a date with Fielding. Let's get into Danny Jacobs. He looked good. He looked all right, actually. There was a lot to like about Jacobs' performance. He showed off the athleticism. He throws really crisp, clean combinations, precise punching. He's got a high ring IQ. His legs are good. The snap on his punches is good, not great. He's a very good athlete. He's really highly skilled fighter. Does a lot of things really well. Knows how to use his legs, knows how to keep range when he wants to. All that stuff is good. Let's get to the bad also. Danny ate a lot of leather. He gets backed into the ropes and was taken out of his fight at times. When he wanted to outbox Derevyanchenko, he could. He's a better boxer than Derevyanchenko. But he takes rounds off, and it seems that he gets disinterested at times. I don't know. It could be fatigue. It could be disinterest. I don't know. But there was no reason, and I scored the fight for Jacobs 114-113. There was no reason for this fight to be that close and competitive. You saw in the first 6 rounds who the better fighter was. And Derevyanchenko was just trying to wear him down, just getting close, and he was able to do that. I had Derevyanchenko winning 4 of the last 6 rounds to make this thing close. I had it 114-113, the knockdown being the difference in the first round. But look, a couple things on Danny Jacobs. He's hittable, he takes rounds off, and he has a less than stellar chin. These things, look, this is a bad combination of things to have. Jacobs does have the skill, athleticism, and ring IQ, and power to hang in with anyone in the division. And he's going to need that. I really do believe he's going to fight Canelo next. I believe that fight will happen Cinco de Mayo weekend of 2019. The problem is, like I said, he's good enough to hang in with all these guys. He will probably lose to each of the top middleweights. If you take rounds off against Canelo and Charlo, you're going to get knocked out. If you take rounds off against Andrade and Billy Joe, you will get behind on the scorecards. And look, Jacobs is a good boxer. He's not a better boxer than those two. So if you take rounds off and you don't get the knockout, and I don't think he'd knock out superb technicians like Andrade and Billy Joe. And Andrade's a sneaky lefty. Like, if he fought Andrade and you told me someone in that fight got knocked out, okay, Jacobs ate a left hand from Andrade and got put to sleep. I can't see how Jacobs knocks out Andrade. His power is good, but it's not great. I mean, outside of Peter Quillen, when have you been blown away recently at a world-class level by Jacobs' power? His last, this is 4 fights in a row, he hasn't scored a knockout. So that knockout streak that he had was 10 straight knockouts or whatever. That's long gone. He doesn't really even look for the knockout anymore. After the knockdown in the first round against Derevyanchenko, there was really no point where he had Derevyanchenko even in trouble. So, no, do I think Jacobs knocks Billy Joe out? Do I think he knocks Andrade out? No. And I don't think he can win 7 rounds against them. I don't think he can win 6 rounds against them. So I think he loses to those guys. And I think Charlo and Canelo knock him out. He gets lazy, he gets tired. I mean, I don't know what it is. Again, it could be fatigue, it could be disinterest, I don't know what it is. You know, the guy overcame all. I like Danny Jacobs. This is not an indictment on Danny the Miracle Man Jacobs. I'm happy that Danny Jacobs is finally a legitimate world champion. I like Jacobs. He's a heck of a nice guy. His story is awesome. I root for Danny Jacobs. If Jacobs fought Canelo, which I think he will, I will root for Danny Jacobs. I really, really like it. So this is not me hating on Danny Jacobs, so don't take it that way. Like I said, I think he hangs in there with any of the top middleweights. I think he makes it a good, entertaining scrap, but loses to each of them. So, look, I am super excited to see Jacobs as a world champion, as a legitimate world champion, but I do think his tenure, his reign, will be short. Look, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I think Jacobs fights Cinco de Mayo weekend against Canelo. I think the fielding fight that Canelo's fighting at the Garden, I think that they're putting it in New York to build him up, to build his star in New York. We know Canelo can sell in Texas, Vegas, California, the other three major boxing cities, areas. But let's see now how he does in New York. And I think they're building him up to bring Jacobs home and have Jacobs, the Miracle Man, fight in his hometown with his new title against the biggest name in the sport, Canelo Alvarez. I think it would be a huge, huge event in New York City. Jacobs, a New Yorker born and bred with an awesome story, taking on the biggest name in the sport, the world's most famous arena, the mecca of boxing. I think this fight will do really, really well. I think if it was on HBO pay-per-view, which it's not, it would do well over 1 million buys. But remember, HBO boxing is done, so that's gone. HBO is walking away, leaving this fight on the table and all the money it would bring in. Jacobs is a free agent. HBO's closed its doors and not a day too soon. I just got back in town. I was in San Antonio covering Carlos Hernandez, his fight card. He's a promoter for Mosa Productions. I covered that card in San Antonio. Check that out. That was a great that was a great card. But I just got back and I can't wait to cancel my HBO subscription. Can't wait. This last telecast was HBO being HBO Max and Jim going down the primrose path, leading each other astray, and loving on Jacobs for all 12 rounds. Look, Max and Jim constantly chatted about how Devenchenko was the worst for wear, and he was wearing down, and fatigue was setting in, and he couldn't go 12 rounds, and this, and that, and this. I thought he won 4 of the last 6 rounds, and the judges kind of agree with me. Letterman's card was, of course, absurd, as it always is. Just typical horrible HBO coverage. They picked Jacob. Like, this is their last card. This is the last telecast. They're not carrying Jacobs fights anymore. So what was with the love affair? It didn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm just so glad not to have to listen to these 3 stooges anymore. Max, Jim, and Harold. Not Roy. Roy does great. Roy does a good job. But now that Canelo Jacobs fight will not air on HBO, it won't be on pay-per-view. It'll be on DAZN, not HBO pay-per-view. I love it. It's a huge savings. I don't have to spend 70, 80, $85, whatever they would charge me for that. And I get to watch it on DAZN without Max and Jim. So this is a double win. So good riddance to HBO and good riddance to my monthly HBO bill as well. Let me know what you guys think. Are you happy to see HBO go? I know it's sad, but are you guys going to miss Max and Jim? Are you going to miss Harold Letterman's ridiculous scorecards and their cheerleading? Let me know what you think. And also let me know what you think about my take on Danny Jacobs. Do you guys think he can beat any of the middleweights? Top middleweights? Billy Joe, Charlo, Canelo, Andrade? Leave your thoughts below and let me know who you guys think he'll fight next. I think Jacobs and Canelo meet up on Cinco de Mayo weekend in Madison Square Garden. Let's see if I'm right. Well, it certainly looks like it's going to happen. I have railed against it for a while now, but Mikey Garcia has vacated his IBF 135-pound strap to not fight Richard Comey, which I think would have been a decent and meaningful scrap, good, entertaining scrap. Instead, he's going right up to 147 to take on Spence and get utterly destroyed by Errol Spence Jr. It looks like the execution will take place in February in Texas. The dates that are being discussed right now is February 16th or the 23rd. Both dates are being discussed in the Dallas area at either the Star in Frisco, which is just a little north of Dallas, where he sold out when he fought Ocampo, which was his last fight, or at the American Airlines Center, which is the venue, the arena where the Dallas Mavericks play. Look, this fight in Dallas is good for me. I don't have to spend 70, $80, whatever they'll charge me on the pay-per-view, I can go to the fight. Actually, I can get credentials to cover the fight. That being said, I still don't want the fight. Because above all else, I'm a boxing fan. I want the best fights to be made. I want to see the best fight, the best at their own weight class. And yes, Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia are two of the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. No doubt. But they're not in the same weight class. They're two weight classes apart. Mikey Garcia going to 147 to fight the biggest, strongest welterweight in the game is suicidal and stupid. And I think this thing bombs on pay-per-view. Look, in December, I think, and I'm on the record saying this, I think that Wilder and Fury will do between 400,000 and 500,000 pay-per-view buys. I think Pacquiao versus Broner will do at least 500,000, maybe as many as 700,000, and that's in January. And then this fight in February, it's like, so you're asking the casual fan to come out of pocket $70, $80 a month, 3 months in a row? No. Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence is the fight they're going to say no thank you to. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it bombs so bad on pay-per-view that they don't put any more fights on pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't want this fight. There's no need for this fight. I mean, how many times do we have to watch Amir Khan versus Canelo Alvarez, or Triple G versus Kell Brook, or Rigondeaux versus Lomachenko? There's weight classes for a reason. There are weight classes for a reason. It's to avoid fights like this. Fight the guys at your weight class. I was talking to Errol Spence. He says he comes down from over he weighs more than 170, and he shrinks himself down to 47, and he never sees 47 again. I've stood next to Errol Spence, close enough to shake his hand, take a picture of him. I stood next to Mikey Garcia. They're not the same size. They're not even close to the same size. So if their skills levels are similar, and I think they are, I think Mikey's the better boxer. Like, Mikey's higher on my pound for pound list. I think Mikey's more skilled. I think his timing is excellent. I think he does a lot of things well. If they were the same size, if they were both welterweights, both lightweights, and they were the same size, I would lean towards Mikey in that fight. I really would. But they're not the same size. Errol Spence is going to eat him alive. I mean, there's two fights coming up, two welterweight pay-per-view fights early next year. Pacquiao versus Broner, and Spence versus Mikey. Wouldn't it be more interesting if they switched opponents, meaning Pacquiao fought Mikey, and Spence fought Broner? Look, if Mikey fought Pacquiao's a really small welterweight. He's never really a welterweight. He's always a small guy who just, he had to try to bulk himself up to 47. And so Mikey wouldn't be at a size disadvantage. I'd probably pick Mikey to win that fight, but though it's kind of a 50-50 fight. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts below. If Mikey fought Pacquiao, who would you pick to win? So I would love to see that fight. I think that's an interesting fight. Then, in the other half of that, if Spence fought Broner, that'd be great. Because Broner would sell the fight. Spence isn't a huge personality. He's a nice guy and everything, but he's not great at selling the fight. Broner is, and people like to watch Broner get beat up. Who would beat him up better than Errol Spence? Nobody. Errol Spence would beat the living hell out of Adrian Broner, and everyone would love it. You could put that on pay-per-view. They're the same size. They're both welterweights. So, I mean, those are the fights we should be making, but instead we get Pacquiao versus Broner, which I'm going to buy Pacquiao Broner. I'm strangely into that fight. It's just this fight. It's this Spence versus Mikey Garcia. I've been against it. I don't think it's a good fight. I think Mikey makes it competitive for a while. He wins some rounds. He's a master boxer. You saw how great his timing is. This is going to sound weird because Broner doesn't let his hands go, but he really tied Broner up with his timing. He confused Broner with his timing, and every time it looked like Broner was going to throw, Mikey would fire and land first. Over and over and over again. And then he beat him up on the inside. Mikey is really good. That being said, he's not a welterweight, and Errol Spence is a heck of a welterweight. A huge, big, strong welterweight. And, we all know how this is going to end. Let's be real. Errol Spence knocks out. I'm going to say about the 6th round. I'm going to say the scorecards are pretty similar. The scorecards are pretty close. It'll be a pretty even fight on the scorecards. And then Errol Spence will break Mikey Garcia and destroy him in the middle round. I'm picking Errol Spence by 6th-round knockout. I mean, that's not my official prediction. I'll do a prediction show before the fight as we get closer. But, just off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking. I don't think I'll change my opinion much. I think that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I think that's what most people are going to be leaning towards. This fight just really doesn't do it for me. I think there's so much talent at 47 that there's no need for this fight. And there's plenty of fight. Look, Mikey and Comey. Mikey wins that fight, but it's a good fight. Comey is an underrated fighter. So I would like to have seen Mikey just take that fight and see Errol Spence at least negotiate with Terrence Crawford. See if we can make this fight happen. They both need a fight. I don't know who Crawford's going to fight next on the top-ranked side. I have no interest in seeing Errol Spence fight Mikey Garcia or anyone else besides Porter. And don't give me Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is... Keith Thurman is done. I don't think we'll see Keith Thurman again. I really don't. I'm going to do a show on Keith Thurman, I think. But, again, let me know what you guys think. I've railed and rallied against this Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence fight. Again, it's going to be... It looks like it's going to be in Dallas. So that's a win for me, but I just don't think this fight's a win. I'd rather see other fights. I'd rather see them fight the guys at their own size. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts, comments below. For Tuesday night fights, this is 3D Boxing. Signing off, saying thank you, and God bless.
Enjoy 3D Boxing vlog videos? Show us some love by clicking the like button. Don't miss a tweet, post, story, or video. 3dboxingvlog.com is also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button now to stay inside the ring.